So I'm going to explain how a clutch works whilst the car's out. That's the gearbox. The green bit in the middle is called like the slave cylinder, also known as a concentric bearing. So there's hydraulic oil coming in here from the clutch. So from here, there's a pipe goes around there, goes into there, goes into the back of there. When you push the clutch pedal down, this comes forwards. Yeah, so this goes in and out concentrically in the middle. Okay, this is the clutch plate. So that's the input shaft into the gearbox. This is the clutch plate. So that is spinning round and driving the gearbox. Okay, so that's that sort of half of it. That's the gearbox side of things. Okay, this is the back of the engine. So you've got the flywheel. So that's called the flywheel. It's big and heavy. This has just been machined. It's nice and smooth. This is helps me demonstrate, but it's also called a clutch alignment tool. So without the tool, this clutch plate could be anywhere on there. And it needs to be in the middle. It's got to be perfectly centered. So this is, I've just machined that down in the lathe. So it fits perfectly in the middle. It fits perfectly in there. So that goes on there. So now I know that that's centered. So if you imagine a brake disc, a front brake disc on a car, you've got two pads that push onto the brake disc and slow the brake disc down. A clutch is similar, but it's back to front. So you're going to have two pieces of metal that are pushing the pad. So remember that this clutch plate is the thing that's on the back of the gearbox. Okay, so at the moment that's spinning. So as the engine's going round, the gearbox is stationary, so the engine will be going round and that's not moving. So that's slipping.
Is that where the term slipping the clutch comes from?
Yeah. So this is the clutch cover. So this goes on the back. It's difficult to see how it works, but that clutch bearing is pushing against that. And these are like levers. So this inner bit moves in and out, only by like a few millimeters, but that goes in and out when you push on there. So the clutch, when you are pushing the clutch, you're pushing on there, that levers this up and it pulls this away from it. So you can see it's a bit like a front brake disc, but it's back to front. So the metal is grabbing the pads, whereas on a brake, the pads grab the metal. But it's the same, it's hydraulics, and it just goes on the line. So let's put this on. Okay, I can't get it all the way on. So now the pad, sorry, the clutch plate is being squashed. So you can see there's quite a bit more, there's a gap all the way around. So that would be, this would be bolted up to the flywheel, and the disc's in there. So basically when no pressure's been applied to that, the plate is being grabbed by both sides of this, so it's rotating as one. So when you're driving along with the clutch up, these two are clamped together very, very tight. So it's like having your foot hard on the brake and it's grabbing that disc. So once that's in, you can then take this alignment tool out. So that disc now is perfectly centered in the middle. Yeah. So that is pretending to be that. Yeah, the shaft of the gearbox. So that goes in there. So we know. So when I come to put the engine back in, so I might get you doing this when we put the engine back in. We have to bring the engine down and align it to that shaft sticking out so it goes in perfectly. If this disc wasn't in the middle, I'd never be able to put the car back together, because that bit there has got to go right inside the engine and it has to be aligned. So whenever you're doing a clutch job, you have to have something like this, which is called a clutch alignment disc. And all you're doing is making sure that that disc is perfectly in the middle of the flywheel. So that's the flywheel. These little holes here is where it's been balanced. So otherwise the engine would shake. So when you hear an engine that's out of balance, it's because the flywheel hasn't been balanced.
So that's similar to wheel balancing?
Yes, it is. And the club, also see like 3 dots there. So there's 3 dots there, 3 dots there. This needs to go back round to top dead centre. So this should be at the 12 o'clock position, just so it's all aligned. But the clutch cover's also been balanced. So these have to, when you take these to bits, you have to mark it, because when you put that back onto that, it's got to go in the same place. This can go on one of 3 positions. And it's crucial that you put it on. You probably find some holes in there somewhere where they've balanced it. There we go. So they've just drilled out a little bit of metal to make sure that that's balanced as well. So you can't just bung it on any old way. So when you're driving along, it's squashing it really tight. When you're pushing the clutch down, when you push the clutch all the way down, you're effectively pulling this side of the metal away, so the discs then just spins. And when you're trying to pull away, you're just going in and out gently like that, trying to find the point where it's gripping it sort of, so you can then start to pull away, and then you just let the clutch out more.
And that's the biting point.
That's the biting point. And that's basically how a clutch works. Any questions?
Not at the moment.
All right, okay. And there endeth our lesson.